Hi again, everyone, and I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us again here on another Liberty Flame Sports Network Rewind. My name is Nick Pierce. Glad to have you along. Today's Rewind takes a look back to the 2019 ASUN Baseball Championship game, and today's edition is also brought to you by our friends at Thompson Brooks Insurance. Looking back to that 2019 ASUN Title Game, it was a special day for the Flames, May 26th in DeLand, Florida, as Liberty, in its first season in the ASUN Conference, came out of the losers bracket of the ASUN tournament to lift the trophy and win the whole thing and go to another regional. So joining us here today, two of the young men that were part of that ball club, pitcher Evan Brabrand and also infielder Ben Highfill. Guys, thanks a lot for joining us here today. Evan, we'll start with you. I know you're in the minor leagues now, and you've spent a season with the Marlins. How are things going for you, buddy?
Things are going well. I had a really good first season. It was nice to kind of get my feet wet in a shorter, abbreviated season in playing minor league ball. And kind of it's unfortunate what's going on right now, kind of halting my second season. But I've loved it. It's been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying still playing, and I'm doing what I love, so I can't complain.
Yeah, and certainly looking forward to getting back to baseball here sooner rather than later. Ben, you just wrapped up your senior season, as it turns out, at Liberty. I understand you're moving on to grad school now at Duke. So how's the preparation for that going?
Yeah, it's good. I have a lot more extra time now than I thought I would since the season got cut short. I kind of thought it would kind of just run right into each other. But, I'm just trying to stay busy, do some fun things, spend some time with people that I haven't really got to see very often since I've been in college. But it's been good. I feel good. I'm happy with where I am. So I'm excited for what's coming next, though, for sure.
Yeah, it was tough to see the season get cut short like that due to COVID-19, but certainly things have played out the way they have for a reason, I guess. And as we look ahead now, well, let's first look back and relive some of the fun moments here for everyone involved in the program. As I said, May 26th, DeLand, Florida. You guys had to come out of the losers bracket of that tournament. You won your first game and then fell in the second game of the tournament, lost that game to Jacksonville. Tough loss in 10 innings, 9-6. You guys had your backs to the wall. Now, the crazy thing about this week was the late games. And I mentioned an extra inning game for you guys. You turn around and play an extra inning game the next day, 12 innings with North Florida. You'd win that one to hang on. But there were about 4 or 5 different extra inning games that week, which actually kind of threw the schedule off a little bit. And you guys wound up playing this championship game on Sunday. It was supposed to be originally on the schedule for Saturday. So how much did that help? How much did that hurt? Whoever wants to jump in as far as you guys and making this title run?
I remember that, and it was crazy because I remember us even like coming to games when we thought they were on time, and we'd be sitting there for an extra hour because the game would be an extra innings, and we couldn't believe it. Like, it was like every game was going 10, 11, 12. And for a pitcher, we do a lot of sitting around anyway, so it wasn't too different for me. But I'm sure as a position player, kind of getting ready and then sitting down and getting ready and sitting down and then trying to go out and play a game at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Like, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, I remember it being felt like 120 degrees, and I feel like every game that went to extra innings was the one playing before us. So like we sat on that hill and on the first base line for probably 2 hours. Like, we warmed up in the cages 3 times before each game. But I was just the DH here, so I don't even know what it's like to have to play the field the whole time either. I think I definitely got a good end of that one.
Yeah, you guys talking about it being hot. Yeah, you guys talking about it being hot. I think it was the hottest day, too, on the day of the championship game. I can remember sweating as soon as I stepped out on the field to go interview Coach Jackson before the game started. But it's really a remarkable run you guys made, and it was a heroic effort from a lot of different guys. There's a lot of guys we could be sitting here talking to along with you two on this thing here today. A 3-2 win in 12 over North Florida to eliminate the Ospreys on Friday, May 24th. Then the next day, turn around and play Jacksonville in the early game, 11 a.m. You beat them 5-2 to eliminate the Dolphins. And this is the point where the schedule had been altered because that game was actually supposed to have been the night before, but because of one of the extra inning games, it wound up getting pushed to Saturday, which meant that the championship game was a obviously double elimination for the winner in the winners brackets, which was Stetson. So Stetson had to be beaten twice. You guys were going to have to beat him twice, but you didn't have to do it on the same day. So I think that probably helped a little bit, maybe. I mean, you guys had to win 2 games in one day, but it turns out it was Jacksonville and then it was Stetson. So maybe a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but not as daunting of a task to have to beat the same team twice in one day as opposed to beating 2 different teams twice in one day, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, yeah, it was crazy. It all kind of turns into a blur. It felt like we were at the field forever and just kind of whatever happened, we were playing. But I think it definitely worked out for us.
Well, a 5-2 win. Go ahead.
I thought the ability that we had to play that, like you said, that Friday night game, Saturday against Jacksonville, that was a team that had given us our only loss. So we were kind of like, we had a little extra on that game. I mean, we really don't need extra when it's playoffs, but once we beat them, I mean, we were flying high, and beating the same team twice, like you said, is tough to do on one day, but beating 2 different teams on one day, a little bit easier to do. So I think that definitely helped us because once we beat Stetson Saturday going into Sunday, I mean, we had all the momentum and their backs were against the wall and we were in a good spot.
Well, that's what happened. You knock off Stetson 6-3 on Saturday, and then you turn around. You're coming back on Sunday at 1 o'clock for the championship game. So that's where we're going to pick things up. So let's go ahead and get started here. We'll do a little watch along here as we look back at some of the highlights from that game. So let's get ready to fire it up here, and we'll all 3 hit play on 3, 2, 1, play. So we are in the bottom of the second inning here at this point. Will Wagner's just drawn a walk. 1 out. We got Tyler Gallazin coming up to hit. No score. Gallazin, a senior. You see him digging in here. And there was some good senior leadership on this ball club. Evan, obviously you were part of that. But then Gallazin, a guy that had only been there for 2 years, but he left his mark on the program, didn't he?
Yeah, he definitely did. I think we had a couple guys like that, guys that transferred in that really cemented themselves in this program right from the get-go. Gallazin was one. Andrew was another one. And even guys like Brady Hyde and Aiden Carricker and John O'Connor, who didn't play as much, but, I mean, they did as much for this team as some of us players did. I mean, you don't understand what kind of connections and team morale kind of you need and that bond you need to go through a long season like this and have success. And those guys, I mean, they kept their heads up, they kept the team in it, and it kind of kept us all like a family. And I think that's what we did so well that year.
Ball and a strike now here on Gallazin, facing a pretty tough pitcher here too in Vlad Nunez. Ben, what do you remember about facing Vlad?
I remember that kind of going into the game, we knew that they were kind of run thin on pitchers and that, I mean, this was their closer, I guess, pitching. So we kind of knew that if we could get to him, that we would have a really good chance. If he could hang around to the 5th or 6th, we knew we'd probably be in a little bit more trouble. So, the specific game plan, I don't remember exactly. Just kind of, we were hot at this point, so we were all feeling good. So just kind of keep doing what you're doing, get on base, and, we were feeling good. Felt like we could definitely beat him, just keep doing what we were doing.
There's Gallazin with a base hit to left, and you got 2 on here. 1 out in the bottom of the second. What you think of Gallazin's swing?
It wasn't the prettiest thing to look at, but it got the job done.
It's good.
That was a loaded question. You answered it well.
Tyler kind of started at a good ratio that, there's no such thing as a bad hit. Sometimes you square it up and it gets caught. And that's a bad ratio. You hit it too. Yeah. Good ratio is what we always say.
He was
barrel to exit velocity ratio. Sometimes you need to just drop one in there.
It's a sliding scale. Great. It works fantastic.
Yeah.
You guy's a real genius.
There's B Roar now, Brandon Roar up here. And you guys are you guys just trying to work him at this point, Nunez? I mean, Ben, are you guys just trying to? Because like you said, they're thin on pitching, so they got the closer out there starting the game. I mean, are you guys just trying to work him and get him out of the game as quick as you can?
Yeah, I think for sure. Just take pitches, be pretty selective, and generally, especially in my 4 years, that's what we've been really good at as an offense collectively is working the count, not swinging at balls, really making the pitchers come to us, working along at bats. And I think especially at this time of the year last year, our lineup was just brutal to face, kind of thinking back on it, having to get just the people that were hitting in the order out consecutively, especially at the top of our order, was, I think, a real tough task. So, just working.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well, when you start, Gray Betts, John Embry in the first two spots in the order, I mean, that's probably, 20 pitches right there off the bat, and you hope you get at least one of those guys out.
Right.
Pretty close.
Especially when Embry's hot like he was postseason last year.
Yeah. He could do no wrong, it seemed like. And even Gray, he was taking – there were some ABs. It seemed like he was taking 8-10 pitches at a bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that worked right into our philosophy.
Yeah.
Really disciplined for a freshman. Speaking of discipline, here's Roar doing exactly what we're talking about. He's working the count in his favor. 3-2. Nunez has already walked one in the inning. Look at the pitch count, 32 already.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Only in the bottom of the second, not what Coach Trimper and the Hatters were hoping for here. Got a good hack off, though.
Yeah. Patented Brandon Roar at bat.
Why you say patented Roar at bat? What makes a Brandon Roar at bat?
Just the epitome, of what you teach. He doesn't chase balls out of the zone, makes you throw balls in the zone, and then he usually puts a good swing on it. Just like that, 3-2. Takes a pitch inside even with the guys running. That's not as easy as it looks. There's stuff going on. You want to be aggressive, and it's just an easy take. He's great at it. Great at getting on base.
There he is, drawing the walk. Bases loaded now. You guys can smell blood in the water here, right?
Mm-hmm. I think for sure as an offense, especially knowing this guy hasn't had a lot of starting experience. He's up there in pitch counts, and especially being a championship game, we want to get out there, get ahead.
Now here you are, Ben, coming up, bases loaded, less than 2 outs. You just taking a strike here, and what are you thinking?
Oh, I was going to swing.
Yeah, there you go.
That thing looked good.
Try and get him in, A lot of, he's walked a couple guys this inning, but, last thing I want to do with guys in scoring position is just get behind in the count. And, sometimes the first couple of pitches are the best ones.
And a good rip. You fouled that first one back.
And just like that, he's behind the count.
Yeah.
2 strikes, though, to give him credit.
I remember sitting up there. I was just like, don't run into the double play. Just hit it in there. I remember that pitch I swung at is kind of I think it was a slider down. It's one of those you make contact and you're kind of just like, please go foul,
Yeah.
It's going to be a ground ball, but, it's funny how it works out in baseball,
Well, Coach always harped on you guys, Coach Jackson, and still does to this day, about being good with runners, with a runner at third and less than 2 outs. So here you're behind in the count. There's 1 out. You're just at least trying to get that guy in from third, right?
Right. Yeah, big emphasis placed on getting the guy in.
Look at Coach down there. You can still pick it.
Still got it. But, yeah, for good reason. That's how you win games. If you don't get those guys in, then it's tough to score unless you're just going to hit home runs. And for us, that's never really been a big part of our offense. Been
Well, it was tough to hit the ball out of the ballpark that week too. I mean, now that you mentioned that, I mean, it was that place played a lot bigger that week, I think, than what it actually was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were some windy days there too.
Yeah, and it felt like the wind was always blowing in.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you would think it would have been a lot cooler with the wind blowing that much. But
I remember not this day. I remember sitting in the dugout with a wet towel over my head for six innings of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Still behind in the count here. Nunez taking a long time to think about it.
A 1-2 from Nunez again. Line to left field. Townsend racing over, dives. He cannot make the catch. It bounces out of his glove.
Yep.
One run is in. Rounding
There comes Wagner. Gallison score on that too. He did.
Yep.
Wagner and Gallison score, and Liberty is on the board first in the ASUN championship.
There's the 2-0 lead. Big clutch hit for you, Benny. Now,
Yeah.
Ben, you weren't in the lineup consistently until, what, about halfway through the season at this point? Something like that?
About halfway, maybe a little bit after. I mean, our series against Stetson at home, I didn't play any of those games. So
really you hadn't even faced Nunez that much.
Right. No.
If at all.
No, that was the first time. So it was I was just thinking, especially hitting in the 8-hole, I guess it was. I think my batting average was like 210 or something. Like he's not going to walk me. So he threw a lot of strikes, just kept swinging. And
you were probably the best 210 looking hitter though that I've ever seen. Evan, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
There were so many balls he barreled up.
That just got robbed. It could have easily been a 320.
I remember I played probably the first 2 weeks of the season because Cam had his little quad injury.
That's right, yeah.
I couldn't buy a hit. I feel like everything I hit caught. So I got in a big old hole at the beginning of the year, tried to climb out of it the rest of the way.
You need to go back and look at your exit velocities from last year. Because I'm sure it doesn't line up with the batting average.
Yeah.
Nunez now getting a little talking to. He's already up over 40 pitches. Hot day. You know he's not going to last long. He's behind 2-0 already. Jalen Guy.
264, 1 home run, 14 driven in, and excellent speed.
Give me a good Jalen Guy story, somebody. Ooh.
Oh, I got a good one. Before this game, actually. Was it before this game? It was either before this game or the day before. Me and Jalen had a ritual before every game. We'd run to either side of the dugout, outside the front of the dugout, and we'd run to either side, and we'd circle around and run towards each other, and we'd do a basketball move and go past each other and lay the ball up. And we'd come back and dap up and get ready for the game. And we were on the third base side, and we're never on the third base side, not very often. And so we're doing it, and we make the turn, and as we're coming back, I stepped the wrong way. So I stepped the wrong way, he steps the right way. So we actually stepped the same way, and we just run right into each other. And I knocked him right on his back right before the game, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody's dying laughing. It ended up working out pretty well because we ended up winning, but it was funny. I thought I'd messed up the juju, and I thought we were done for.
It was earlier in the day. You guys just weren't awake yet.
Exactly. That's what I blame it on.
His gray bats, typical gray bats at bat, gets ahead. Well, he's even it now.
Yeah.
That was a really good bunt by Jalen. He almost beat that thing out, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch Guy take those next couple steps here over the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good piece of hitting.
Yep. It was good. I mean, he was good this year. I think he's hitting over 300 or something like that. He's starting to figure it out. He's got all the tools, So.
Striking out less, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about patented at bats. That was one right there from great bats.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's dang near holding the barrel of the bat. He's choking up so much, but he gets the job done.
It's funny. I don't remember, but I think that Jalen's bunt, I think that it was a sacrifice. Like, I think Coach Jackson gave him the bunt sign.
Yeah.
And which is strange because there was one out. But, our offense was just clicking. And, normally you might second guess it. I remember thinking, this is perfect. We're going to get guys over. And then we got great. Like, we're going to score.
Well, we've moved ahead in the action here. You guys got those 4 runs there in the early in the ball game. Now you're up 4-0. And it's top of the 7th. Andrew McInville's out of the ball game. Pitched really well and got you guys out of some trouble. And now, Evan, you're on. You're asked to pitch the last 3 innings. You got a little traffic on the base paths here, 1 out. First of all, how have you been preparing up until this moment?
Like I said, I was sitting in the dugout with a cold towel over my head all game just to try to stay out of the sun and stay hydrated. But I only had pitched once the whole tournament. I feel like everybody was grinding so hard, and I was just kind of sitting around like, all right, the only game I had pitched was the Jacksonville game, and I didn't do very well. So other than that, I've been kind of just – my arm felt good. I was just ready to go. I didn't think I had my best stuff that day. Let a bunch of guys on, but, I mean, it was good enough to get the job done.
Head 0-2 now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember Fago. He had hit a home run in the game the day before, and that was the only home run we had seen all day in the whole tournament, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so he was kind of – this was a sticky situation, I remember. But when I got ahead 0-2, I felt a lot better about it.
I think Fago and then I think Embry. Didn't Embry hit one?
You're right, he did.
Yeah.
He did. I remember that.
But there weren't many. I mean, you could have counted the home runs that were hit in this entire tournament on one hand and had fingers left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was really hard to get the ball out of here. So 0-2, you're trying to put him away.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good pitch. Jammed him.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost looks like a breaking ball with the motion that it has at 87 miles per hour, like it's going to be a slider.
I think I ended up getting him with a breaking ball here, I think.
That's a pitch that
saw you go to the wristband there. Do you guys like those? Was that a more efficient way of getting the signs in?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty easy. With the guy on second,
oh, yeah.
I mean, I had no problem with it. Having it on the glove was pretty easy just to glance down and do.
Little backdoor 12-6 action there.
Oh, yeah. Good pitch. But I honestly, it was one of the few I landed that whole game. I did not have that pitch at all. I remember I was so sweaty, I just couldn't grip it. And that was one of the few I think I got to land.
Yeah, so you're going to the rosin bag like every other pitch.
Yeah, it was a hot one. That's for sure.
Well, that's a big second out.
Yep. So I remember right here it was 2 outs, and I'm like, oh, we're good. Ball hit to left, and I see him check up at third, and then I look up, and then Gray's running backwards.
Now fastball hitting Jorge Reyes. Arenas digs in. He loves the hard stuff, and he lines up.
Yeah, this was an unfortunate sequence here, and Gray had been really good in left field all year.
Oh, yeah.
But it was almost kind of like just a little case of the yips. Not just for him either. We're going to see more here in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to say this was just a very uncharacteristic inning of us. I mean, we're a very fundamentally sound defensive team. And, I think we just kind of got a little lackadaisical. But, I mean, it happens, and you just got to kind of stop it as soon as you can,
Ben, you guys work on that stuff every day in practice, right? I mean, cutoffs, relays.
Yep. There goes. There one. But, yeah, every day pretty much it's outfielders and infielders working on balls in the sun, balls off the wall, throws to bases, bare hand drills, charge plays, plays at home, anything that could possibly come up, we're working on it. So definitely take a lot of pride in that. And I just remember, I think a lot of games last year it felt like this. We got out to an early lead, and then we kind of fell back on our pitching staff, and that might have been probably one of the things you could knock about our team of last year is that we kind of let a few teams back in it like this, but we had great pitchers and seemed to come out on top most of the time. So we like to create stressful situations for Evan.
That just
I
brought
had
the
to do
best
that
out
as
of Evan,
well.
right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I remember I remember this vividly because I remember after the first one, I was like, man, that sucks. And then after the second error, I thought to myself, I remember getting out of this inning and going back to the dugout and Gaines walking up to me. And I was like, dude, nothing else can go worse. Like that's the worst that it's going to happen. Like if you look at the law of averages, like what are the chances we make another error like that? It's not going to happen. So like I wasn't. Once we got out of this inning, I felt a lot better. But this inning was a little stressful.
This is Kyle Ball up here now, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Upstairs with the cutter.
Yeah, so tying run
yeah.
at first, and things have obviously gotten stressful now.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that though when you're out there on the mound? I mean,
Lead cut down to 1.
Yikes.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of just like you just got to treat it like every one pitch at a time. Whatever happens the pitch before, like thinking about it, whether good or bad, isn't gonna change what happened. You just got to move on. One pitch at a time has always been the cliche saying, but I mean it's true from a mental standpoint because you give up a hit, you can't let that hit score. So what's your job? Your job is the next pitch to be as good as possible. So it's kind of all you can think about is moving forward. You can't think about back at all.
This is a tough sequence here now because Tremper's out arguing this with Ball. He thinks he got hit on the hand. The broadcasters actually, when I went back and watched this replay, they thought it hit the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So this has got to be frustrating for you because now it's a hot day. You're in the middle of a bad situation, and you just got to stand around out here.
Yeah, I mean, the standing around I wasn't too worried about that. I was worried they were going to say it hit him because I thought 100% he swung. Whether it hit him or not, I thought he swung. So I didn't want him to give him the base. And then the notion of, well, it hit off his knob because it went a decent ways, a little bit further than you would expect it when you get hit in the hand. And it was in fair play.
Yeah.
So if the umpire hadn't called it dead, we could have just picked it up and stepped on first and moved out of the inning. But they called it dead from the get-go, so the best they could have done was a foul ball.
Right, which is what they wound up going with here, and Tremper's going ballistic.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I didn't think wasn't the best case scenario, but wasn't the worst either. I thought we were just level playing field. All right, I got my strike that he swung at, so let's just go to work.
You almost felt like it was a compromise at that point.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now, I don't think they didn't have replay there available this day, did they? I guess not, or they would have looked at that one, right?
Yeah, I don't think they had replay the whole tournament.
Which is mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, it is.
Because there was no indication at any point that it was foul.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have that problem again. I would hope we're going to have replay the rest of the way, but there may have been something just with the setup or where the truck was located, or I don't know the details as to why.
They don't have the benefit of the replay that we do, and we can see it so clearly thanks to the wonderful work here by our crew.
But you got to feel like at least you kind of caught a break there in that they didn't say hit by a pitch.
Exactly. So, I mean, I still got him. I mean, I got him. I had me count on 1-2. So I still like where I'm at.
All those fans up there, they just showed a minute ago trying to stay in the shade.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Floridians were hot. That tells you all you need to know about a day like today.
Yeah, if only that was the case here in Lynchburg.
See, this ball was hit well, but it just died.
Yeah, I know. I remember him hitting it, and I was like, wow, you got good wood on that. And looking up, and Gray was camped. I was like, wow, I'll take that all day.
They went 3-0 to start the tournament. Then yesterday dropped the second game of the day. Liberty winning that one. No team.
So you guys get out of that inning at 4-3. You're on to the ninth now. And Evan, you're out there for your third inning of relief. You said you were feeling good in the seventh. How you feeling in the ninth?
I felt good. The eighth inning, the seventh was a struggle. I remember the eighth inning was kind of a quick one. I got in and got out. did my thing because I don't know. It's something about it. The eighth innings, like just it was a lot easier to go out to pitch the eighth than the ninth. The last 3 outs of the ball game are kind of tough, but this was when the rubber meets the road right here.
Ben, there's not a whole lot you can do at this point. Like you said, you're DHing, so you're in the dugout watching all this. I mean, what's going through your mind right now?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that with Evan on the mound, I mean, obviously there's nerves with it being the last 3 outs of the conference tournament, But, having Evan out there kind of gave us a sense of relief. Like we knew that he was the guy to be out there. There's no one else we wanted out there. Like however it goes, this is who we want out there. And we had a lot of confidence that he was going to get it done. But you can't help but just be, freaking out in there when you can't do anything. So I remember we were standing down at the end of the dugout, and it's like me, Trey, Brady, John O'Connor, and you're trying to do whatever you can in the dugout to help the guys on the field. So we'd be doing stupid things like, rotate what order we're standing in, and like when you take a sip of your water, and like if something goes good, no one moves because you're like, because 2 innings before you had 2 errors, and that's uncharacteristic. So it's like, you just want to do whatever you can. So I remember being just like, and especially when they got some guys on, which I guess we'll see in a little bit, it was just like, man, it's just conflicting emotions of like confidence, but at the end of the day, it's baseball, and they could hit 2 blooper singles and then, ground ball off the umpire, you don't know, and then we lost the game.
So you're a pretty superstitious guy, it sounds like. Is that fair to say?
Sometimes during the game, yeah.
I feel like if you played baseball at all, that you got some of that in you.
That's a fair point. There's McNeil just out of the reach of Matthew and Wagner. So not the way you drew it up. Leadoff guys on. But I guess the way that you guys have had to kind of fight and earn everything, it's almost kind of fitting.
Yeah, that's kind of how I thought of it on the mound. Actually, it was like, man, why would this be easy? Like, why would I get a 1-2-3 ninth inning? Like, of course it's not going to happen. So
here's Coos now. So now, and here's the thing. Now you got to go through 2, 3, and 4 in the batting order.
Exactly. Which, I mean, we knew that was going to happen, especially the inning they had in the 7th, just how it lined up. I was going to face them again, whether it was in the 8th or the 9th. So,
something I was thinking about is, I mean, this team wound up winning 43 games, won a game in a regional, was within a win of getting to the regional final in Chapel Hill the next weekend. But it wasn't a traditional sense of what you would think a 40-plus win team would be, where it's like, well, we got 9 guys, we just roll them out there every day. We know, who's doing what. I mean, I think there was some stability in the pitching staff. I think the roles were pretty well defined. But from the sense of the batting order and who was going to play every day, Ben, we talked about this with you too. I mean, I think this team had to really kind of work a little bit in some ways to find its identity. And the fact that you guys still won 43 games, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I remember for probably the first half of the season, guys were just kind of rotating out and in and out of those last 3 or 4 batting spots in the order, just trying to find some length to the order. We seemed like we had a lot of production out of the top half, and kind of the bottom half, it almost was inconsistent. So.
That was dirty right there, by the way, Evan.
Yeah, that was one of the 2, I guess, I landed or threw well. That was the swing and miss one I needed for sure. And that one was huge because, I mean, having a guy behind the plate like Johnny, I mean, that allows me to throw that ball. Why
don't you talk a little bit about that? Because John Embry is a guy that obviously he would wind up being the tournament MVP here. And I mean, I think you gotta definitely tip your cap to that guy. I mean,
oh
wow.
My gosh, when Benny talks about the pitching staff kind of being a staple on his team, I mean, this all starts with John. The way he caught behind the plate, the way he led, the way he just went about his business and worked hard. And I had utter confidence in him. There was no pitch I was ever afraid to throw because I didn't think he was ready for it, or I didn't think he was able to block it, or he was fantastic. He kept runners honest. He was the most athletic catcher I think I've ever seen in my life. That kid, if you know him at all as a person, he can do everything. So what he did behind the plate wasn't really much of a surprise.
Close call there with Fago taking one down the line.
Mm-hmm.
We talked a little bit about him earlier there. I mean, you faced him a few times now at this point. I mean, what's the thought here trying to get him out?
Yeah, so I remember the game plan going into the game for him was we were going to attack him in, hard in. But with me, I kind of I attacked him in, but at the same time, my strength was going away.
Way in.
That one was a little too tight in. But my strength was showing that pitch, but then going to the opposite side of the plate, either with fastball or cutter. And I knew I'd already got him with looking on the breaking ball in the previous at bat I'd faced him. So he's seen my land breaking ball. So if I was going to get him on one of those, I was going to have to bury it, and it was going to have to be a good one. But other than that, I just lived and died by my stuff. And right here, I left one right over the middle. And thankfully, the wind kept it in. Jalen was able to kind of camp under it. But, that was one of those ones where I'm like, you sit back on the mound and you're like, my stuff's better than his. I'm just going to throw it as hard as I can. It'll play itself out. And luckily, it played itself out there.
So you guys 1 out away now at this point. It's got to kind of go at this point, I would think, from nervousness to anticipation now, right?
A little bit, but then you get a quick reality check right here when you get ambushed by Jorge right here. I think it was either first or second pitch. He just turns on a fastball, and I was like, wow, he was ready for it. So
Jorge Arenas, he was a really good defensive shortstop, right? I'm not thinking about somebody else. Yeah, I think it was Arenas. Arenas was really good behind the plate, or excuse me, not behind the plate, on the infield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I missed this that first pitch, and then the second one. He was ready for it.
Aggressive all year long. Wouldn't surprise me if McNeil gets
0-1, man at first, 2 outs. One out away from the title here. One strike away now.
Maybe I'm not thinking of Arenas.
Stretch in the 0-1. Blew it by him. 92 from Brabrand.
Yeah, this is even more of a letdown when the anticipation gets up. 0-2, 2 outs. I just let everybody get on the edge of the seats and then just had to crush everybody's spirit.
Takes a deep breath. Now he gets back into the.
Were you thinking about trying to strike him out here?
Oh, 100%. Always. You get a guy 0-2, that should be the only thing in your mind.
I'll say this though, that pitch he took that was a really good piece of hitting right there, because that ball was down. I don't even know if it was a strike.
Yeah, no, I agree. I remember that one. That was when I was just trying to rip, and it was down. And I remember you got a piece on it. I was like, man, that was one of the ones you kind of tip your cap. Luckily, it was in front of our outfielders and not in a gap, and we were able to corral it enough to keep him at third.
So, Ben, what's going through your mind now? We talk about anticipation, nerves. Is it back to nerves now?
I know. Now it's just like – now it turns into like everyone knows. I just remember thinking that the field's been baking in the sun, and it was like concrete by the 4th or 5th inning.
Oh, yeah.
It was just like a hard ground ball. Please don't take a bad hop. Because at this point, it's beyond the control. Evan makes a good pitch, and it just takes a bad hop, and then so it's just those crazy things that can happen. And so you're just so many things. I don't know. And there's that much on the line, you can't help but to overthink it. So.
This is probably a spot, too, though, where you talk about Embry behind the plate, where you're thinking you can throw anything in the arsenal, because even with that guy at third, you got utmost confidence that he's going to block it up here.
Oh, for sure. And that, like I said, that was the great thing about Embry was that ability to do that whenever.
Noah Dickerson, what do you remember about this guy?
I remember he was a young kid. I remember hearing that he was supposed to be pretty good. But honestly, I was never one to read too much into my hitters. I'm a big believer in my stuff's gonna be better than yours, so I really don't care what you do. If I do what I do, it's gonna work out. So I wasn't worried too much about the hitter per se, more about just doing what I needed to do.
Right, he played a good bit last year. He had 256.
Yeah, I remember he had I think he had 2 hits in this game too.
That's for your first and third defense. Looks like they're going to play Matthew back and give a
I just remember baking in the sun up there up top. They had the radio booth set up. The sun, I think, had actually at this point gotten up over top of the field, so we were starting to get some shade. But this is one of those days where, as a broadcaster, you're laying sweatshirts and whatever over top of your equipment so it doesn't get fried.
Wow, yeah.
Get Matthew off the line, give him a little bit more range, keep that hold down to a minimum.
1-1.
Oh, borderline. Look at that. Got a call.
Good pitch.
Yeah, needed that one.
Top of the zone. That's a good spot. It's not like he's going to do anything with it, right?
Yeah.
Look at you. You're up at like 50 pitches at this point. I mean, this is getting –
Yeah, I think the only time I threw more pitches than this in a game was in the regional against Tennessee.
yeah.
When I threw 7, that was the only time.
One strike away, the freshman Dickerson, Stetson's last hope.
Oh, didn't get it again. A little further off the plate that time.
Yeah, a little bit.
But, you know, that's a credit, too, to Brian Gaines, though, the way that he had you guys as a pitching coach stacked up and not overworking anybody throughout the course of the season. Then you had it all here ready to go when you needed it.
That's the goal, man, is being as ready as you can come crunch time in the playoffs. That's when you got to be your best. That's when you got to be hot.
Yeah, I think Coach Gaines and Coach Jackson together really did a great job managing you guys as a staff this season. Here we go, 2-2.
2-2 from Brabrand.
Oh, this is it. There's that ground ball you talked about. Good thing he got a good hop.
Yeah.
Time to dance.
Time to dance. The dog pile.
Yeah.
Evan, where were you at? Were you on the bottom of this thing?
I was on the very bottom, man, and it was heavier than you think. I'll tell you what.
Really, yeah.
But it was an amazing feeling. I mean, I've never won a championship like that, and to do it on my last year with these guys, it was so special. It really was.
And to come back from what you went through, too. I mean, an injury on opening day the year prior. You were the starting pitcher on opening day. You couldn't get back from that until this year. And then you wind up an All-American and a champion. I mean, that's fairy tale stuff, man.
Yeah, it felt like a Cinderella story, you know. But it felt good, you know, all the work that I had put in and all the support I had gotten from my teammates and my coaches and my training staff and everybody around, you know, it felt good that everything, you know, came full circle, and I was able to share that moment with these guys, and, you know, they were there with me through the ups and downs of last year and even the beginning of this year. You know, they were always there for me, and it was great.
Ben, where were you at on that pile? I didn't see you in there.
Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere in the middle. There's a funny story that kind of goes along with that end thing. We were all in the dugout. We were kind of talking about how we were going to dogpile, and we kept saying, don't jump on Evan, don't tackle Evan, because he's the most important player on the team. So we're like, what are we going to do? And then we're running out there. So everyone in the dugout is trying to not jump on Evan. Everyone on the field is trying to tackle Evan. I think the picture that we have hanging up in the hallway is Logan tackling Evan in the middle. So it was kind of weird, like, well, the pile's on top of Evan, but we don't want to jump on him. So it's like, so it kind of was, I mean, it was funny. Everyone was happy. It was just whatever. It was cool. Like Evan said, I had never won anything, a championship or anything like that since I was, you know, playing Little League. So to have something that meant that much was really cool, and one of the best experiences of my life for sure.
And a real team effort too. I mean, it took everybody on that entire squad, all 35, to get that done. So A lot of fun. It was great walking down memory lane, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Before we get out of here, what would be one final thought or memory that you would put on this ball club? Whoever wants to take a stab at it.
I'll go. I guess the one thing I always remember is just how much fun we had all the time. I think even looking back on the fall when we had hard workouts, Friday morning conditioning, just when it was just terrible, like it was still fun to, grind it out with everyone on that team. And kind of that feeling that you don't really know how to describe it, but in my 4 years, there was something different about that year that I never felt the other years, regardless of how successful we were. It was just cohesive and everyone was, genuinely happy for each other. And, like you said, it was a real team effort. And it feels like we were definitely a part of something special and bigger than ourselves. So, I'm very thankful for the opportunity that I had and something I'll never forget. So,
Yeah, to piggy off of Ben, I think he hit the nail on the head right there. Usually, like you said, Nick, most teams have 10 position players that play. They got starters, they got your 4 starters, and then 5 or 6 pen arms, and that's it. So the other guys are kind of just there. And that wasn't what we were. There was no one guy that did everything. Everybody contributed on and off the field. And that's what made it so fun. We were, like Ben said, we had fun with everything we did. And there's not a lot of teams that I've been on that the entire team was that way. There wasn't one guy that stood out, or wasn't a clique here that did this or a clique that did that. Like, everybody just got along and had fun together, and we enjoyed spending time with each other so much that the baseball part of it was that was easy. That was fun. Like, that was the enjoyable part. Like, we got to go out there and just play with our friends, and we made memories in practice and games and in bus trips and in hotels that I'm never going to forget. And I know one day I'm going to tell my kids about. And then one day when we have this 20th reunion or whatever, and we all get back together, we're going to pick up right where we left off. It's going to be great.
Great stuff. Well, guys, again, really, really appreciate it. It's been fun taking a look back on this first ever ASUN championship. You guys both a big part of it, and wish you well. Ben, you in grad school, and Evan, you with the Marlins in the minor leagues whenever you guys get back to playing here.
Appreciate it, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.